All right, it's recording. And so I'm thinking of calling our podcast Dreadnought News because we have zero dread of any repercussions of what of
Yes,
our current.
although Hazel is telling me off that I should have at least some. But anyway,
Yeah. So thank you for joining me, Stu, for the very first episode of the Dreadnought podcast,
yeah.
Dreadnought News.
Mm.
And so basically, like we said, the format is going to be we're going to talk about domestic politics issues and then US politics and then either, UK or European or some world issue. The first issue we'll cover is the latest news poll, which came out 2 days ago. So I'll share my
Mm.
screen. Yeah, and voters are rating Anthony Albanese as the weakest leader in decades, which 100%, you can't fool the voters, can you? They've marked this guy. They've got him nailed for exactly who he is. But I think the contrast is also
Who? So on this weakness scale,
decisive and strong. Albanese at 44, so more people, whereas Dutton is at 60, and only 28 disagree that. And that's the thing. It's not so much that Albo is weak. It's just in contrast to Peter Dutton. Peter Dutton is the fucking Terminator. Like what? Like he never smiles. Like he just like he's a fucking killer. And so yeah, and
yeah.
he must be like Labour must be petrified of him because I don't know how you beat a man like that. He's just a machine. Like anyway,
Well, look, I mean, I think can we track back up just for a quick minute and see like, and so this is the go down. How that is the red and blue table there?
yeah, right. Okay, so this is leaders over time. So decisive and strong. So back in the Rudd and Turnbull days.
That blows my mind.
Oh, this is
I
has sorry,
Rudd is a 70,
sorry.
decisive and
No,
strong.
no. So that was experienced. These are
Oh,
terms
right.
here. So decisive and strong. Yeah.
I
So
still find that
Rudd, it is pretty
wild.
crazy, isn't it? And yeah.
Yeah, it
Anyway,
is. And then Mr. Abbott is only 57%.
yeah, I know he was strong as well, but I think Dutton he's got this coldness about him. Abbott was like jovial. He was warm. Dutton is just like a stone cold serial killer. And so I honestly don't know how Labour and they're neck and neck in the polls. Okay, so the 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 consensus
Yeah,
wisdom.
look, I mean, for my money, I think I wouldn't put all that much stock in polls showing them neck and neck. I think they're in serious, serious trouble. I can't remember because I mean, what did he come in on a primary vote of like 31 or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was 30. Yeah, 31, 32. I can't remember, but
I would expect we'll see what happens. I don't know how I'm going to vote yet. Probably to like a right leaning minor party will get my first preference. Because I like Dutton. Like he's better than anyone since Abbott. Um, although I was tricked by Morrison. Like Morrison turned out to be the exact opposite of strong and decisive.
yeah, he did. He was
So I
weak and
suppose
vocal.
like I could have been, for me personally, it could have been a matter of being in a bit of an information bubble, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So
Yeah, this is slightly
he
off. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's okay. But yeah, so he came across, I think he established his bona fides as a strong leader in the Home Affairs, or what became Home Affairs.
He
Because he was,
did, and I always said that it was actually Abbott who made Morrison look good because Morris
yeah,
Abbott was
and
the
there was
tough man
no,
in the.
yeah, like, and I suppose the thing that was in my mind making the bubble thinking, because I was involved with a refugee organization at the time, was that although I'm actually quite proud of myself of self bursting out of that bubble. But we can come to that later. But I was working under the assumption that he was. standing up for what was generally an unpopular position. But that was not borne out by the polls at all. Australians are very, very clear on we don't want unauthorized boat arrivals, full stop. The
Yeah,
polling on this
exactly.
has been crystal clear since like Tampa, when Tampa's what, 98? So the point that I'm getting at is Morrison was there was no skin in the game being like a hard man there. But by comparison, for my money, Dutton still took too long to nail his colours to the mast on The Voice. But that was a political roadkill moment. If he lost that, there'd be a new opposition leader right now.
Yeah, no, but since then he has been unstoppable, I think. And
Yeah.
as I was saying, the polls are at neck and neck, and the consensus wisdom has been Labor is going to it's going to be a hung parliament, and Labor is going to be able to negotiate with the crossbench, get supply, and Albanese will be returned. Now, it's looking like that may not be such a slam dunk, and we'll have to see. I'm notoriously terrible at predicting elections, but I will make a couple of predictions right here. This is a Dreadnought News exclusive. Dobson is predicting that Bennelong will be the first seat to be flipped in the election next year, and Jerome Laxall will lose his seat and will go back to the Libs. That's of course John Howard's old seat, and so that's my first prediction. My second prediction is that Dunkley, where there was a by-election this year, which the Libs lost, Dunkley will be the bellwether. So I think whoever wins Dunkley is going to be the one in the best position to form what's probably going to be a minority government because I'm sure some of the Teal seats will come back to the Libs, but not all of them. I think Allegra Spender will hold on. Um, Warringah is going to be interesting this year because the Libs have pre-selected a very strong candidate. So I mean that's going to be interesting. But I love elections, but I'm notoriously bad at predicting them. But anyway, that's as
Yeah,
far as
look,
I'm willing to say at this stage.
I got, yeah, I suppose I should nail my colours to the mast. I got Trump 2016 wrong. I got Biden, uh,
I got Trump 2016. That's the one I did get right. But
I
other
got
than that,
Biden 2020 wrong.
I did too. I
Um,
did too. I got Bill Shorten
having said
2019
that
wrong.
though,
Yeah.
let me see if I can dig it up. Uh,
Excuse me.
I'll say something that could get me in a lot of trouble in the Melbourne circles. Uh, Massive fraud happened in 2020. That election
Oh
was
yeah. Oh yeah.
incontestably stolen. And
No,
it was
yeah.
stolen
That was obvious
by
to me.
election fraud.
That was obvious to me on the night. When you saw, because it was a daytime here, and I was following it during the day. Trump was
Yeah,
ahead,
same.
and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, why is he
You see these
behind?
vertical
Yeah,
vote
exactly.
counts, and
And
I'm
there's
like,
like
wait,
hidden
what?
camera, and there's like security camera footage of like poll watchers sending all the Republicans home and then pulling out ballots, like suitcases full of hidden ballots under the table and
And
running it through this
and
kind of like, what else going on? Oh, there was a water leak. So there was a burst pipe.
yeah,
We
and
had to
then
send you home. Like,
I can't
seriously, that's
remember.
not dodgy. What is dodgy? Seriously.
Yeah. Like, and I saw a fella that I follow online who's very plugged into this stuff. Uh, he made a great point coming into this election, that everyone graph. I can't find it. I'll dig it up for you. It's a really good one. But like the there's about 30 bellwether counties
And they all
in
went Trump. Yeah.
yeah, they all went Trump 2020,
Never happened before. Yeah. I've
but
seen that
they
graph.
but yeah, yeah, but then they're perfect. They're back to predicting presidents again. So so these bellwether counties on average are picking presidents going back to before Nixon. 2020 they don't pick
The one
Trump.
anomaly. Yeah.
2024 they do pick Trump again and they get it right.
No, I've
There's
seen
just
it.
yeah in my mind.
After
Like
the After the
I was
24
reading in
election, yeah, it's just there's no doubt about it anymore.
no, none at all. Like Detroit had counties well, boroughs, I suppose they would call them, that achieved like 97% voter turnout. We don't achieve 97% voter turnout,
And you
and
get
you
a
get a
fine.
fine if you don't
Yeah.
go.
No, it's
So,
unbelievable. It's ballot
so yeah,
harvesting. It's
call me
100%
call
ballot
me
harvesting.
skeptical, but the outer suburbs of Detroit, where you're likely to get stabbed and then have your corpse eaten by quasi wild dogs, are turning out at 97%. Nah.
Unlikely. Anyway, let's continue on with the domestic politics though, because
Yeah.
we're still in the first stage. So I'm just going to share my second tab here.
Mm.
Dutton will not stand in front of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags.
This is you're
This is what I
on
mean.
your
He's a fucking Terminator.
oh wait, you're on your
Am I
you're
sharing the wrong
on
screen?
yeah, you're sharing Telegram. I
Okay,
like this. I think it's good. I think
let me share the proper screen. Sorry about that. Yeah, look
it's the
at
right
the
move.
and this is on MSN, a left-leaning website, and all the comments are
Good, good,
um,
good, good.
like, yeah, 100%, like we should only have one flag. Like this guy has a good grasp on what the country wants. Like Dutton will win the next election on this issue alone. And on this left-leaning website, he's got like more than 10 to 1. Like this is what I mean. He's a Terminator. He's just a strong opposition leader. And we haven't seen a strong opposition leader since Tony Abbott, who won in a landslide. So that could be foreshadowing, although I'm not going to forecast because I'm terrible at it. But yeah,
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm also got a rough thing. It'll really depend. I think the social media legislation that I think
see,
he's not
okay.
appreciating the sting in the tail of digital ID
So
there.
I'm going to disagree with you there because I think he I've seen polls that say like 74% of parents support that social media. So that's why he didn't really have much of a choice, even though I hated that legislation. You hated it. It's not even
Yeah, yeah,
about kids.
but
It's about, getting digital
I
fingerprints of
get,
your
yeah, no,
critics.
totally. Like the legislation itself, I mean, Matt Canavan made the fantastic point that the legislation itself doesn't even mention the word parent. It's got nothing to do with parents and children.
No, it doesn't.
And
But he was a bit
my
snookered on that issue.
my point that I would make on that is, and I know that, you've got to pick your battles, and this election will be fought on cost of living. But I think so-called culture war topics, I personally think part of the reason that the opposition struggles so much, they've been so focused on it's the economy stupid for so
That was
long.
Morrison. Morrison failed to fight the culture
Oh yeah,
war,
but
and he paid the price for
it's
it.
been a problem going back to at least
Even
20.
Abbott, even Abbott, who failed to repeal 18C, that was
Mm.
pure cowardice, which you wouldn't have expected from Abbott. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. So yeah, well, anyway, let's leave that
But
discussion there.
before we do move on from this,
Okay,
though, I
go
think
ahead.
the one thing that I would say to tie it all back to the one flag thing is 70-80% of people polling were in favor of the voice
Yeah,
at the start of that.
had
So
had had Dutton opposed it, he could have made his case. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and I think the lesson from the voice, which in fairness to Dutton, he's the one who has the skin in the game. So we need to be careful that the press's advice is always available, as Bill Shorten said. Um, I did get 2019 right though. I picked 2019.
wow, good. That was a good pick actually,
Oh,
because I didn't.
yeah, but I said there is no way. Bill Shorten will never be Prime Minister of Australia.
You fucking nailed that. Was a tough one.
Oh, well, he's too deep in the Rudd Gillard Rudd crap. But putting that aside, I think the lesson to take away from the voice is if you're right on the argument, lean into the fight. Don't back away from the fight, have the fight.
Yeah.
Because you'll come out, you'll win, and everyone loves a winner.
All right, so just to give my perspective on this, which I didn't intend to talk
Mm.
about this, but let's go into as a parent. Yeah, I don't want my daughter on TikTok. Sorry, I don't. You
Of
know,
course.
I understand why 74% of parents, but my point is, I don't want my son on Pornhub more than I don't want my daughter on TikTok. So why is the government banning social media?
One and not the
But
other. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that annoys me. yeah, and again, I don't think it's got when you come down to it, I don't think it's got to do anything about keeping kids safe either. I think it's about making everyone have a digital ID for their online presence so that you can then do what they're doing in the UK with Starmer's Stasi, which we'll probably
Exactly.
talk about one time. So this is Scott Phillips, and he's a big fat lefty. He would deny that, but he is.
I
But
think
he's also an economist, and
he's
he's got
pretty
some good
smart.
takes. He's got some good takes. I enjoy his
Mm.
takes. Some bad ones as well, some terrible ones, but more than not.
No, he's
He's
perfect.
saying, yeah, he's saying that there's white hot anger, the focus groups, and saying if the government isn't scared, it should be. And so that just goes back to that discussion we were having about news poll. They were thinking, even if we don't get a majority, we got the Teals, we got the Greens. Like, what's Peter Dutton going to do? Now, Peter Dutton, we'll see how it goes, but he's looking pretty strong and pretty tough. And
Yeah, so but the thread he's got a needle to thread there. So he backed away from lowering immigration numbers, committing to 160,000 intake, which I think probably could be a mistake.
yeah,
I
he does
think
have
to
a
be
needle to
honest,
thread.
I think to be honest with you, I think to be honest with you, the prospect of like everyone has been fairly traumatized by the Gillard minority government, and Tony Windsor was not batshit insane. Whereas the Teals are just a dog's breakfast. Like they're out there
Monique Ryan will
condemning.
lose her seat, and so will Zoe. What's her name? I'm pretty sure the Libs will get
Yeah,
their
yeah.
seats back.
So I would say, to be honest, I think the Jewish thing has really screwed them. I think Allegra Spender is fucked, to be honest. I don't see her keep.
Maybe, but yeah, see, yeah,
I don't see her
maybe.
keeping Wentworth. She signed on to the letter saying we have to give UNRWA money, and
What?
UNRWA,
She did?
yeah, and
What an
UNRWA
idiot.
representatives were found in the room
Do-
where Sinwar was killed.
Does she want to
Look,
lose her
Wentworth,
seat? What
yeah,
the hell?
Wentworth after Caulfield. No, I think in Australia the largest Jewish populations.
Is Wentworth. Second is
Wentworth,
Caulfield.
then Caulfield,
Yeah.
then Kooyong.
And Goldstein.
Zoe,
Yeah.
Allegra Spender, Zoe Daniel, and Monique Ryan, and all three of them signed on to the UNRWA letter.
That's
They
unbelievable.
are
That is
gone.
why
They
would
are
they do that?
gone.
Oh my God. They, that is
So
so
I
dumb.
think,
And
yeah,
that's
there's
another thing
three.
working in Dutton's favor, though, is because Australians generally are fairly pro-Israel. Like, not fanatically, but fairly. Like, they've always been
And
an
I think
ally to
also
us.
pretty pro-Jewish, to be honest.
Yeah, no, but and I want to get to
Yeah,
this towards the end of the podcast, so we do have to keep moving.
yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
just my point is Australian ally have, since World War One have been
Mm,
fairly good friends. Well, not
mm.
World War One is not really accurate. Anyway, we'll get to that later on the podcast. So let's keep moving. Um, so next topic is the CEO killer. And I know your
Jesus.
stance on this, and so you're going to be very disappointed in me. But anyway, this is my party compatriot. I'm a member of the Libertarian Party. He's saying
Mm.
exactly what I know that you commented on this thread as well by this purple pingers guy. Literally got a hammer and sickle in his
Oh,
and he's like, make capitalists afraid again. He's like, if you want to see raw socialist depravity, check out this thread. They all think that this guy was a left winger. I said no, I don't think he is. This was 3 days ago, 4 days ago. I think he's a right wing libertarian. And yeah, I might have gone a bit extreme. Anyway, still a bit traumatized by Big Pharma and the vaccine affair. But anyway, and guess what
yeah.
it turns
I
me.
look. To be honest with you, I guess it's looking to me like the person who's been arrested in connection with it is a raging commie.
No, he's a Ted Kaczynski, bro. He's a right winger. And a shit poster. Like he's just shit posting on right wing accounts.
Yeah, okay, that's
And it
interesting. So this is just
left
Luigi time.
left wingers don't have six packs. Sorry, they don't.
Well,
And
that is a good point.
here he is. Here's Ramsey Paul. Luigi isn't a leftist. And here he is
Mm.
criticizing, here he is reposting this like right wing, this right wing commentator. And here he is making a typical right wing critique on Jordan Peterson that he's correct. He's just too like verbose and gay about it, which that's a fairly typical right wing critique. And then, and then Ramsey Paul, the virgin old lady gasser versus CEO killer. So yes. So I'm going to take that as a W, even though I said I'm terrible at predicting. I did predict this guy was a right winger, and I'm claiming it, although you've just said that you think he's a commie. So maybe
Look,
I've claimed it prematurely.
you will have to see, but I think the he's got enough left wing commie gobbledygook in his feed that Taylor Lorenz was following him. So
Oh,
I
really? Okay.
yeah, so I think look, it's quite possible. I mean, Ted Kaczynski, um, that what was the
The
name of his essay?
Unabomber.
It was like industrialized society has been a catastrophe for man or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, I think if you were to put that in front of your average lefty, they'd lap that shit up. And because it's all about systems and it's not about like his main critique of industrialized society, even though he lived as I suppose you might say what you would associate with the right wing being like a survivalist and all that stuff. Um, that critique was very, very, very focused on systems and it makes us cogs and all that kind of stuff, which yeah, look, I think
That is a bit of
most
a
people when you
Marxist.
read it are at least somewhat sympathetic to it, but because there is that aspect of it, right? Like it's impossible to deny that if the supermarket doesn't open for the next 3 weeks, I'm in real fucking trouble. And to that extent, yes, I'm a hopeless victim of a system. It's if the system goes away, so do I pretty much. Um, but um, yeah, I think yeah. Anyway, Ted Kaczynski is obviously a freakishly intelligent dude, so he's probably pretty hard to pigeonhole very easily. And by all accounts, this guy was pretty smart as well.
Yeah, but I think the best take was by this golden age enjoyer. They're both gay. Daniel Penny is an alpha, and I gotta pay that. I got respect for Daniel Penny, and I'm glad he got
That
off.
man is that man is a giga chad for sure.
Yeah, Giga Chad Penny. The New York. I'm seeing a New York renaissance after Trump 2024 and the Daniel Penny result. I'm starting to get faith in
Nothing
the
would
New
make
York
me
justice.
happier than a true New York revival, but the rot is very deep there.
Okay, let's move on from US politics now and tackle our final topic, which is Syria. And this chick who actually lives in Perth says Turkey has been working with Israel this whole time, which is an interesting take. Yeah,
That woman is a lunatic, though. Like,
he is a lunatic, but I think the general thesis is the neocons in the Biden administration, who are fairly aligned with Israel as well, um, they just wanted to create as much havoc as they can while they still can because they're going to be kicked out on they're out for the next 4 years at least. They won't be able to stir up any trouble.
at
So
least.
they just did that final push. This is a punishment to Russia, and yeah, and Erdogan definitely was involved. There's no doubt about that. Which is interesting because some people say Erdogan is trying to recreate um, the Ottoman Empire. Here it is.
Yeah, okay, that is interesting.
Look at this.
I've seen a
All
lot
of
of
this.
this kind of analysis around these days. Like people are saying that what's his face is trying to recreate the Russian Empire. Like he
You
views
mean
his
Putin?
Putin, yeah, he views his
I don't think there's any.
he
Well,
views
I mean,
himself as is it Peter?
Peter
I
the
want to say
Great. Look, I
Peter.
don't think
Yeah.
he's definitely trying to reestablish a Russian sphere of influence. I don't think you can say that he isn't trying to do that, right?
Uh, yeah. I mean, look, who knows? Who knows? I think from what I've seen of him, he's extremely historically engaged, which is
Hmm.
somewhat troubling. Like,
Well, I
I've
like
got
history.
I would have to thank, oh no, so look, I like history, but there's a healthy kind and an unhealthy kind. So, um, I've got to yeah, Eric Weinstein pointed this. It was the first time I heard it, but he actually pointed out that it was a observation that Peter Thiel made. 9/11. So the attack that Osama bin Laden carried out is the anniversary of the Battle of Vienna, which was
Wow.
the height of the Ottomans' intrusion into Europe. And
Yeah,
on
right.
9/11, they were
Very-
pushed back at the Battle of Vienna. It was the site of the largest ever cavalry charge.
Yes.
Um, that is what I would call an example of unhealthy historical.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
Like taking vengeance for the Battle of Vienna in New York. What the fuck is wrong with you, you weirdo? Um, and
Yeah,
so
that's a proud day for Christendom.
yeah, so I think as it relates to Putin, it would be interesting to see if he's like that, like I'm rebuilding Peter the Great's borders. I suspect he's not doing that, but yeah, I think your point about Syria and I think yeah, there's this since 2020, since 2016, I think that part of the public service blob has just like they couldn't accept that they simply couldn't accept that Hillary Clinton was a preposterously awful candidate who legitimately lost to Donald Trump.
Hmm.
So they had to come up with an excuse and they made a boogeyman out of Putin.
Hmm.
And they've spent that foreign policy blob with Alex Vinderman and all those clowns that they're just obsessed. And anything they can do to poke their eye, poke
Hmm.
Putin in the eye, that's what they're doing. And like
Hmm.
now they're literally talking about like that big area in the middle is going to be moderate Al Qaeda. Like, yeah, that'll work out.
So you were
That's a
talking
good
about
idea.
you're
Let's
talking
give those guys guns.
you're talking about the aftermath of Hillary Clinton's loss in 2017. Let's rewind that. All right, we've got to wrap it up fairly soon. But let's rewind that 100 years to
Mm.
1917, which is 100 years before
Yeah,
2017.
yeah.
Now, this was during World War One, and this was the year that the Balfour Declaration was signed by the British government. And that's because the British, the Ottomans, the Turks, Turkey was in an alliance with Germany. And so the
Mm.
British were like, hey, let's do what we can to undermine Turkish authority in their empire. And so they signed the Balfour Declaration, which was like basically, the firing the starting gun on official Zionism.
I yeah, well, no, I don't know that that's quite right, is it? Because
well,
I
there was
don't know
Zionism before then, yes, which was started like
which the Rothschild family were pushing quite hard in the
they
late
were, and
years.
there was like crackdowns in Tsarist Russia, which caused the emigration of Jews from Russia, and some of them went to
Mm.
the to Palestine. But didn't,
Mm.
as far as I'm aware, it didn't have any like governmental backing until
Yeah,
1917.
no, I think that's right. The Balfour Declaration, but the Balfour Declaration, I'd have to look into it. It was the culmination of like years of lobbying.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
true. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and
like
that's true. But this was the first time it had been officially sanctioned, and by Britain.
mm.
And Australia was involved in this because it was the Australian Army Forces who fought the
Yeah,
Battle of
yeah, the
Beersheba,
charge
which
of the
is
light horse.
yeah, exactly, which is in modern
Mm.
day Israel, where we defeated the Ottoman army. So the
Mm.
point of this is, the Ottoman Empire was dissolved in 1920
Yeah,
as
yeah,
a
and
result of
split up
possibly as a
by
result
the
in
Pies
no
Pisco, Pies Skies Picot Agreement.
yeah, as a result possibly in part of the Balfour Declaration.
Mm.
And so how does that look now? This is, they carved it all up and there was the British mandate and there was the French whatever. But how does that look now if, and it's a contentious assertion that Erdogan is trying to recreate the Ottoman Empire. Like I don't really believe that, but if he is, how does that sort of interface with Zionism, especially with Israel, controlling moving to consolidate their control over the Golan Heights. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And because Turkey is a Muslim nation, but they're also a member of NATO. So this is going to be interesting, I think. So to see how this unfolds. So yeah, that
Yeah,
was
no,
all I
I think. Yeah, look, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it goes because I think Trump is likely going to go all guns blazing at it pretty hard. Um, because if it turns into a quagmire, it'll consume his presidency, and he's got a lot of shit to get done domestically. So I would expect to see him to move to nip it in the bud
Yeah.
quickly,
Well,
really.
Turkey cannot afford to get too close to Israel, one would think, because they're a fairly hardline Islamist government.
No, but at some point as well, like um, at some point as well though, like how would you put it? Like
So there's three main players in the region: Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, and of course Israel, which
yeah.
which is our team. They're our guys.
Mm.
But is it? And so yeah, up until now, Syria had been under the control of Iran, as has Iraq. Now they're more so under the control of Turkey. Is Israel involved in that as well? Like that crazy bitch Syrian girl said as well. I don't know if they are or not. And even if they are, like, how does that look like? And can Turkey really have an alliance with Israel? Like, I don't know. Can they?
Well, look, I don't know, like Israel's foreign policy has always been like ruthlessly realist. Um, uh, just because of sheer necessity, right? They have to make any deal they can wherever they can make it. And in the early phases of the Ukraine war, my understanding is that Turkey and Israel had worked together to broker a peace which Boris Johnson
Boris
realized.
Johnson flew into Kiev and put the kibosh on. Yeah, I read that too.
Yeah, yeah. So they've clearly I I think Turkey is no friend of Putin.
Yes.
Um, so they will be happy to see Assad gone. I suspect Israel will be a lot less happy to see Assad gone, um, as indicated by the fact that they went and took the Golan Heights uh, and said, "We'll give it back when we've got an idea of who's in power," which could well mean we're never giving it back. Um, well, and more power to them. I would, if I was in BB shoes, I would be doing the exact same thing.
Oh yeah. The
Um,
reason why they took
I'm,
it is
I'm,
because they
I'm
were
not
being
waiting for I'm
bombed
not
by
waiting
artillery.
for Al Qaeda tanks stolen from Assad to roll down the Golan Heights into northern Israel. Fuck that noise. The but I think the with Russia gone, it could well be that Israel and Turkey align a bit more because I don't know how Turkey plug into the Arab nation exactly because it's obviously the Iranians are Persian and the Saudi Arabians are Arabian. So Iran is not really part of the Arab nation as I understand it. Um, so I don't know what the interaction is there with Turkey, but Turkey may well end up being like if you've got these three, as you say, the three major powers, they're probably likely to um, have a kind of a rental car relationship with Israel, depending on who they see the immediate threat being
It was interesting
at the time.
In Trump's last administration, Saudi Arabia and Israel, like they were close to signing a peace agreement. I think they did even.
Yeah, well, and there's a very strong argument to say that, I mean, who knows how these things go, but it looks like I remember reading, and I would believe it's true that October 7 was the last roll of the dice by Iran to blow
By
up the open.
Iran. Yeah, and so Iran will have to probably what will happen, and probably the ideal situation will be Iran retreats, Turkey, controls the north, and Turkey and Israel become closer allies due to that NATO connection, maybe
Yeah,
that
and if you
American
get the
connection.
tripartite going with
Get
Saudi
Saudi
Arabia to
Arabia
isolate
exactly,
Iran. Yeah.
and then Iran's out of it now. That then they strengthen their alignment with Russia and China and North Korea, and the battle lines are drawn for World War Three. But anyway, it's probably good. Yeah, probably good
Yeah,
to
but
get them
look,
out
I
of.
mean, Turkey are part of NATO, and they're actually like a really essential part of NATO.
Yeah.
Um, so that landmass is absolutely key to American power projection in the Black Sea.
Yep.
So that's the reason Erdogan has such a large leash. Like, you know what I mean? Like whenever Trump was in Europe, can you find that photo of him like with uh like Angela Merkel has got both hands at the table?
I know the photo of you. It's
You've
Trump.
got to try and find it because I want to show you something in it.
It's yeah, it's all right, we've only got 1 minute and 43 seconds, but yeah, this is the
Well,
photo.
let's wrap it up on a joke if you can find that picture.
This is the one,
Uh,
right?
the wider frame one if you can.
Okay.
Look at Shinzo Abe.
Yeah.
Look at Shinzo Abe.
I loved that dude. I loved him so much.
Those guys were blood brothers, man. It was
I
like
know,
so
man.
good. And yeah, look at everyone and Shinzo Abe is the best. I love it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so good. The world is diminished for his loss.
I know. I said that on Twitter actually recently. I said um Steve Sale was saying he's sad, the most person he's sad that got assassinated was John Lennon. I said I feel the same way about Abe. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sad.
there you go.
Anyway, better wrap it up. We're going to get cut off by Zoom, but I will, yeah,
All
upload
right.
it and I'll share it with you so that you can have a look. And we'll just
All
chat
right.
again next time.
And let's hold off on publishing it. Because I think we might have to this is good, but it's probably still just two mates chatting.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's
So
fine.
to make a podcast, we'll have to refine our art a bit.
All right. See you next time.
All right, talk soon.